Sean Strickland, you're probably going to lose your fight on Saturday. However, you can win on Thursday. And that's all we need you to do. And why am I saying Thursday? Because Thursday is going to be the press conference where Sean Strickland has a golden opportunity to expose this creature, Israel Adesanya, for the piece of work that he is. Okay? Don't ruin this opportunity, Sean Strickland. This is your chance. Make it count. Okay? Because after this weekend, if you do lose, you're never going to get this opportunity again, and there's no one better for this situation than you. So, Sean Strickland, I'm going to give you the ammunition you need for your press conference against Israel Adesanya. This is all you've got to say. Okay, I'm giving you the script right now. All right, we're going to start with Israel Adesanya faking having cancer, basically, and hinting at the fact that maybe he has cancer when he doesn't really. Okay? We're going to go through that. Then we're going to go into him violating his dog on camera. Okay? That's what we're going to do next. I just want to lay out all of these things. You've seen some of these things, but I just want to lay them out to you just to make sure that you cover all of these bases. Then we're going to go into him being a hypocrite about the Duplessis situation, which I've already done, but I'm just going to brush over it for a quick minute at the end of this video, once I get into the first bit that I've already told you guys about, that's the real juicy part of this video. We also know about the Chinese situation that he had. You're going to have to bring that up as well. I think he's already going to bring that up. He might bring up the dog situation as well. We're then going to think about and talk about him faking poverty, okay? All right, I know you're from a white trash family, Sean Strickland. You can go into him on this accordingly. He faked poverty, even though he grew up with servants, which I'm going to prove in today's video as well. I love these videos more than anything else on my channel. The hatred I have for Israel Adesanya is unmatched. We move on, or start with, this whole situation that nobody really ever believes me about when I tell them about it, except people that actually are in the know that heard about it. Israel Adesanya. Let's listen to how he explained having his boob, which is something that you also have to bring up because he's clearly on PEDs. Let's listen to what Israel Adesanya said in this interview when Ariel Helwani brought up his boob.
On your right pec, and you are being accused of steroids, gyno, all these things. When I did my show with DC, all the comments.
See, when I first saw it, it was gymnastics I was reading because I'm dyslexic. So I'm like, what? Oh wait, gyno.
So fake! I hate to break down every part of this. It's same thing with John Jones and picograms. It's not a difficult word. You know what I'm saying? Gynecomastia. It's not a difficult word. You know you've heard that word, Israel Adesanya. You know you've seen it spelt. Now he's dyslexic. And he can't even say the word dyslexic. This is the most annoying thing about all of this. But I'm going to get into the whole Chadwick Boseman situation, as I like to call it. Rest in peace, by the way, that Israel Adesanya tried hinting at in some of these interviews. But let's listen back to this as well.
It's gyno, all these things. When I did my show with DC, all the comments.
See, when I first saw it, it was gymnastics I was reading because I'm dyslexic.
The fakest thing I've ever heard. When I first saw it, I thought it was gymnastics that I was reading because I'm dyslexic. When have you ever heard Adesanya stumble over a word like that so obviously? Because I'm dyslexic, sorry. So now he can't even read the word gynecomastia. You know what I'm saying? I thought it said gymnastics at first. So that's a new thing that's come out of this interview that I didn't even realize when I was doing before I did my research for this video. But let's get on to the Chadwick Boseman stuff. Hopefully. I don't know what's coming up next here.
So I'm like, what? Oh, wait, kind of. And I Googled it. So that's one thing. I didn't want to speak about it until I know what it was because it's been on me for like the last 8 weeks, and it was
just when his fight camp started for Paulo Costa.
Growing, I was like, this is quite sore. And even my girl told me to go to.
Let me move my camera out of the way. Why is his head all the way on this side? That's so annoying. Hopefully that's just switched to that thing. Let me move my camera over to the side.
Dyslexic. So I'm like, what? Oh wait, kind of. And I Googled it. So that's one thing. I didn't want to speak about it until I know what it was because it's been on me for like the last 8 weeks, and it was just growing. I was like, this is quite sore. And even my girl told me to go to the doctor, but I was like, I'll just get this fight done over with first. But yeah, I don't know what it is. And I also, from what I've read on the Googles about gynos, dememia or whatever,
Gynecomastia, you know what it is. Gynecomastia. I hate when it's like they think the world are absolute. I mean, Israel Adesanya's fan base are children, but like, not every other MMA fan in the world is going to fall for that. You know how to say the word. You know what I'm saying? You Googled it. You did your research on it. Gynecomastia. Every other word you say in this interview is absolutely perfect but that. But we'll get into the Chadwick Boseman stuff, I hope.
It happens to both your boobs, right? So
normally that happens to both of them. Yeah, in the natural case of it. Normally when PEDs are involved, it only happens to one, which happened to you.
This is just one. In my head, I'm like,
yeah, it makes you more guilty.
I hope it's not. Wouldn't it be funny if I died in like 5 months and then it was cancer?
No, it wouldn't be funny, would it? People forget about this so quick, dude. Wouldn't it be funny if I like died in 5 months and it was cancer? How goofy and quirky this guy is, dude. This isn't even the main thing that I want to get into, by the way. This is just him being an absolute creature on top of what I want to get him on here. Okay?
It happens to both your boobs, right? So this is just one. In my head, I'm like, I hope it's not. Wouldn't it be funny if I died in like 5 months and then it was cancer?
No, even Ariel's like, no, it wouldn't be funny. That would not be funny whatsoever. Yeah, people actually die of cancer, Izzy. It's not just some funny, quirky thing you can have about yourself.
It wouldn't be funny. I mean,
right. I mean,
you know, like Chadwick was, you know, a guy who, rest in peace, was going through a lot and everything was hush hush, and then people were making fun of him for looking skinny. And then when he died, he was such a hero, and these clowns were still talking about it when he was, you know, going through what he was going through. So I don't know what this is.
I don't remember anyone really trashing him before he died of it, but maybe people were noticing that he looked unwell. I don't remember people clowning him for looking on the brink of death. I don't ever remember that, but Israel Adesanya paints a victim out of it, although makes himself a victim out of this. I hate that he's even relating himself for growing a boob to Chadwick Boseman and his situation.
But yeah, you know what, Ariel, with the performance like I had, I would think I was on steroids too. I would think they need something. It couldn't be just him. It couldn't be him. He must be something. So yeah, for me, it's all fun and games, man. Like I said, I got 2 weeks of quarantine. I'm going to entertain the out of myself. Ooh, boy.
So as of right now, you have no idea what that is. No one is, you haven't gotten checked out.
So he hasn't had it checked out yet, by the way.
No doctor said anything to you.
I just got blood test done, and I did like a scan, 2 MRI scans just now, like 20 minutes ago.
So he's had a bunch of tests done, okay? This is what I want to get across to you guys. He doesn't know what it was. He's already relating it to Chadwick Boseman, a guy who died of cancer, okay? And tried to troop on and didn't let people know about it until it was too late. Pulled a bit of a Norm Macdonald situation. Rest in peace to him as well. So he doesn't even know what this is. I think he knows what it is. It's PEDs. But he's already relating himself to, you know, the Chadwick Boseman situation that he had. Wouldn't it be funny if I died of cancer? Like you... This is just I hate this. I have reasons to hate this. It really annoys me. I can't be a fan with this shit. But there's more. There's more.
For my pituitary gland. And
he's having his pituitary gland checked. Can say that word just fine. Pituitary gland. I've got my pituitary gland checked. And can't say the word gynecomastia to save his life. Even though he's done his research on it. Can't say that to save his life.
And yeah, so we'll get...
He's dyslexic when that word comes up.
The test back and see what it is.
We're going to get the tests back and see what it is.
Never really been one to diagnose myself with Google.
Oh my God, has he been on the side and I'm over his face again on this side of the screen? It's so annoying how it does this.
We'll get the test back and see what it is. I've never really been one to diagnose myself with Google, so...
Never really been the one to diagnose myself with Google.
I wasn't going to start now, so I've done my test and I'll wait for the results, and then, yeah, I might keep you posted, or I might keep letting people speculate, because it's kind of fun to watch people just cry about it.
I might tell you guys what it is, but I might let people speculate. Your legacy here. Surely you'd want to prove that you're innocent of anything. But all good. He's going to get to something that he says, what happened and what the doctor told him when the tests came back. So we're going to get to that in a second. But you can't be like, I'm not going to tell anyone what it is when I get the test results. I like to let people speculate. And by the way, think about what Chadwick Boseman was going through. You don't get to clout chase cancer. What kind of creature is this? It's a guy who grew up with servants and had no trouble in his life whatsoever. That's who this is. This is literally like an advanced version of the Paul brothers right in front of us here. You don't get to clout chase cancer and hint at it in an interview and then say, well, I'm not going to tell you guys what it is if I get the results back. But remember what Chadwick Boseman went through and everyone was mocking him? Wouldn't it be funny if I died in 5 months of cancer? What is this dude? Like, it's so crazy to me. We move on to another situation here where he does another interview with Ariel Helwani, and this is when he gets his test results back.
Do you have an update on the Peck gate that we talked about last time?
No, not really. Pituitary gland.
Now he can't say pituitary gland.
Was checked. Hormone levels fine. Estrogen and testosterone. So yesterday we had a.
So everything's fine. He's had his pituitary gland checked. Everything's fine. Okay? Everything's fine. I've had my pituitary gland checked. I've had my hormone levels checked. Everything's good. And it doesn't seem like it's anything. We haven't really got an update. It's not a big deal.
Ultrasound. And
he had an ultrasound.
Mammogram.
And a mammogram, whatever that is.
I had one yesterday for the first time. But I mean, to be honest, it might just be unhealthy living a little bit. Like, because I'm not smoking weed. That's what the doctor from the UFC said.
That's what the doctor from the UFC said. The guy that was taking him for all these tests, checking his pituitary gland, doing a whatever other scan he said he had done, all of this other stuff that he said he had done. The guy that was doing all these tests for Israel Adesanya to check on his health has came back and said, you know what, it's probably maybe unhealthy. And this is Israel Adesanya's story. We don't know if this is true. And obviously the UFC is going to protect their superstar. Okay? It's probably just unhealthy eating and maybe a bit of weed. Who knows what it possibly could be. So he's not noticed any cancer. You know what I'm saying? The doctor wouldn't be just saying, probably just unhealthy eating and a bit of too much weed. You got to stop smoking weed. Unless, like, there was nothing else to talk about. You know? The doctor would have immediately said, you've got something seriously wrong. We need to immediately act on this or you might die. We need to start chemotherapy. We need to start treatment. But no, the doctor said there's nothing. It's just, you know, maybe a few things wrong. But maybe this is just Israel Adesanya being the trooper that he is, putting up a front for everyone and lying about what really is happening.
You know, you just need to, stop. And I was like, I'm not stopping. I'm just going to slow down. I'm not stopping smoking weed.
So basically the whole thing was, I'm not stopping smoking weed. I'm just going to slow down. And the doctor said it was just weed that I was doing. So this is a new story. Okay. He's got his test results back. The doctor's determined there's nothing wrong. And it's just that he smokes a bit too much weed. And that's why he grew an entire boob as a peak performance athlete. Just as his training camp started, by the way. Just wanted to point that out. So that's his updated story after he got test results back. Then we go on to this, which very, very conveniently, is all I'm going to say, he only spoke about again once he had lost to Alex Pereira and just randomly brought this up in the middle of a press conference afterwards. This is one where he was absolutely coping about his loss. Everyone said he took it like a hero just because he showed up and made a bunch of excuses, basically. Israel Adesanya says he's dealing with medical issues behind the scenes, compares it to Chadwick Boseman. Remember, we haven't heard about this. At any point, the story has been, everything's fine apparently, the boob's gone down again, the doctor said I'm all good and just need to stop smoking so much weed. Now he's lost to Alex Pereira in the first fight they had in the UFC. Let's listen to what he's got to say about it.
Do you intend on coming back or is it business as usual?
I mean, I don't disclose everything. I've had some stuff that, some medical stuff that I've just put on the back burner. Even stuff that people make fun of me for. I mean, yeah, I just got to look after myself because my health comes first. Even think about Chadwick Boseman when everyone was making fun of him. Oh, he looks so this, he looks so skinny, he looks so sleepy. Not knowing behind the scenes he was fighting cancer.
You cannot hint at that without giving a bit more you cannot clout chase cancer like that. You just said in the last interview I showed that you had all of these tests done and the UFC doctors did all of these tests on you and told you it was nothing and there was nothing to worry about. But was that just an excuse to hide from PEDs? I think the story keeps changing because he's just trying to detract from the fact that you know you were on PEDs, and that's why you sprouted a boob in the middle of your peak performance part of your career. You know what I'm saying? So what was the wrong story, dude? What is going on behind the scenes with this dude? And then he gets back to the Chadwick Boseman story. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get to something at the end afterwards as well. Brings up Chadwick Boseman again.
People always make fun of me about, my chest and other things, but they don't know what I'm doing or what I'm going through in life. But I just keep everything on the back burner, so I just got some things to fix first. And, I'll be back.
So that's his reasoning for his boob that everyone was laughing about on him. You got to think about what Chadwick Boseman was going through. Now, if he actually did have cancer, fair play, man. But we get into another moment here. And this was in another interview with Ariel Helwani, okay? He was on the MMA Hour, and he says, Israel Adesanya, and he basically clarified that it was nothing to do with that. He clarifies his concerning Chadwick Boseman claim he made after UFC 281 loss. You might have some acid reflux. So he just removes that again. This is the problem. You're clarifying yourself in the smallest possible media. But in front of the bright lights at the press conference right after your loss, you're making these grand claims and relating situations you're going through to Chadwick Boseman. This is that you cannot clout chase cancer. I don't know how else to explain that. And he basically walked back his claims about comparing himself to Chadwick Boseman and said, nothing really, it's just some light things instead. It's just different, it wasn't the Chadwick Boseman stuff. So in like a passing comment in an interview on MMA Hour, he can clarify all of this and say, it's nothing really. You know what I mean? But then it's like he has to be checked on it. Ariel Helwani asked him a question. What did you mean by that Chadwick Boseman stuff? Everyone's worried about you. I'll clarify it, I'll walk back the claim. It's cool. I didn't mean it like that. Like, I just, I might just have some acid reflux. Maybe that was the problem. Because he kept burping in the interview. And Ariel was like, is that what you're talking about? The burping you keep doing? Maybe it's just some acid reflux. Like, it's so annoying to me. So he brings up Chadwick Boseman. Then he walks it back after he gets his tests and says, it's nothing, actually. The doctors told me it was nothing. And then he brings back up Chadwick Boseman. Years later, by the way, the Costa fight and the Pereira fight, as active as Adesanya is, are years apart. Okay? And as soon as he loses to Pereira in the first fight in the UFC, he starts bringing up Chadwick Boseman again and relating himself to Chadwick Boseman and what he's going through. And then boom, in another interview, when he's checked on it again, he has to rewind and clarify those statements. There's something called like willfully leaving things open for interpretation. That's what I'm seeing here. He's willingly and choosing to leave things open to interpretation so that he can't technically be called a liar, but maybe I've got cancer. Wouldn't it be funny if I died from cancer in 5 months? No, it fucking wouldn't, dude. People actually die of cancer. And people ask me, why are you such a hater, dude? This is the annoying shit that he does. And then we go to this. Let's move on from the whole him faking and leaving it open to interpretation he might have cancer for sympathy stuff. Molested his dog. Just violated his dog on camera. Absolutely violates his dog on camera. Why? Why do that? Recording your dog, Willy time, starts playing with his dog's dick on camera. This is getting demonetized. But it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? He does this shit. He's a weird creep of a person who's just an absolute cretin. Simple as that. Grew up rich. No understanding of morality. I don't like this dude. You don't get to claim the nice guy and be the hero when this is who you actually are. I hate it. Strickland gets by because he owns who he is. And he accepts the consequences of who he is. He doesn't hide behind stuff and leave things open to interpretation. And, you don't get to do that shit. And this is him violating his dog on camera. Don't know how his fans would explain this one. That dog ended up dying, by the way. Rest in peace. Why are you recording yourself touching up your dog like that? And if this is what he's doing on camera, what's happening off camera is all I want to know. Because on camera is the best view we're going to get of it. You know what I'm saying? It's the best view we're going to get of it. So what happens off camera between Israel Adesanya and his dog if he's, I'm going to get demonetized, jerking it off on camera? I don't know if anyone else has seen this video. Literally jerking off his dog on camera, playing with his dick. What are you doing, you creep? I don't even care about the feeding it with his mouth. That's just absolutely disgusting behavior. The touching it up is grounds for a different type of keyword that I'm definitely not going to say, or I'll 100% get demonetized. Then there's this, the hypocrisy. You know what I mean? Drickus du Plessis, you can't claim I'm not African, even though he never did. And then, you know, he disowned New Zealand when Israel Adesanya dismissed Robert Whittaker's Kiwi heritage for moving to Australia as a child. Exactly what he did from Nigeria to New Zealand, Whittaker can't do from New Zealand to Australia. He's then apologized for this, but I swear he only apologized to it so he can make Drickus du Plessis apologize and say, well, I apologized for what I said. You know what I'm saying? It's just annoying to me. Then there's the whole China situation. I know Sean Strickland's going to bring all this up. We know Sean Strickland's going to bring all of this up. Massively. Okay? This is obvious. Like, the Chinese stuff, the hypocrisy in it, like, he should be bringing up the thing, what did you say about Whittaker disowning New Zealand? And I bet Adesanya will go, and I apologize for that. I looked back and apologized for that. The dog stuff is something Strickland's definitely going to bring up. But this whole cancer saga of, like, just playfully trotting around the idea of, wouldn't it be funny if I died in 5 months of cancer? That's the stuff that you kind of need to bring up because, I don't know, these things have already been brought up and his fans are still his fans because they have no moral compass, I guess. Then we go on to this. Clout chasing poverty as well. This dude is a living identity crisis. Simple as that. And I've told you this. This is the state of the world right now. Rich, spoiled kids who never had any problems growing up create a victim complex. It's the reason for a lot of stuff going on right now. Okay? They give themselves their own problems in life. That is so true. We have created a world where growing up rough and having problems growing up and having this backstory to you that's really dark and really sad is valued so highly by the public and appreciated so highly by the public that now people who have had no problems in their life are giving themselves problems. And I think it's a reason why a lot of middle class kids in these countries in the West are starting to get their Optimus Prime on, is all I'm going to say. People are giving themselves their own problems. And this is Israel Adesanya's MO. Listen to what he said about the Brazilians when he went over there.
Make no mistake, I know how great he is. This is what makes this fight great. And he knows how great I am.
I'm not at the right spot. We're going to go back to 1447.
Fans in Brazil.
I love my Brazilian fans. Even when I was out there, they love me. The favelas love me. They can relate to me. They understand what I've been through. But again,
I love my Brazilian fans. I've been to the favelas. They love me. They understand what I've been through. They can relate to me. What have you been through? Let's find out, because I've never put this on screen before. So let's find out what Israel Adesanya went through as a kid, okay? His words, by the way, he did an interview with ESPN to basically introduce himself to the MMA fans when he first came over to the UFC, okay? So let's look at what Israel Adesanya went through. His words, remember the favelas, the kids in the favelas, they can relate to me because of what I've been through. He was born in Lagos, Nigeria in 1989 to an upper middle class family. The first of 5 children. Although the country's civil society buckled under rising corruption and all the stuff that went on in Nigeria, the Adesanyas lived in relative comfort. Young Israel didn't learn how to bathe himself until he was 8. He recalls, his words, by the way, this isn't someone making up an article about him. They're getting information from him and turning it into a little bit of an autobiography of him, or whatever word it would be. Biography, autobiography, I can't remember which one it is when someone else does it for you. He recalls when he insisted he no longer needed the aid of the family's domestic servants. You know what I'm saying? He didn't learn how to bathe himself until he was 8, when he insisted he no longer needed the aid of family's domestic servants. You've never struggled in life, and that's okay. Fighters have been this way. There have been fighters who have had good upbringings. Renato Moicano, absolute Chad, is someone who absolutely owns this. You know, he came from Brazil, and I remember an interview with Ariel where he came from Brazil, and Ariel was asking, how was your upbringing in Brazil? And he was like, you know what, I grew up pretty well in Brazil. I think he mentioned his family were in accounting or something like that. His family were in something that was pretty good, and he was like, you know what, I grew up pretty well. I didn't grow up like the other dudes. You know what I'm saying? And this is just the weirdness to me. Upper middle class family, relative comfort, didn't learn how to bathe himself until he was 8. That ain't just rich. That ain't just middle class. I know that servants are a bit more common in Nigeria than other countries and other parts of Africa. I get that. So the middle class is probably going to have a servant to them. Didn't learn how to bathe himself, though. I get servants to help with the sweeping of the floors. Maybe servants to act as a tutor to your kids at times. Maybe servants that, you know, just do the general things around the house. Wash the dishes now and again. Do the washing. Hang out the clothes to dry. Clean the place. Stuff like that. But if you're at the level where you have multiple bathing servants to where you don't even know how to bathe yourself until you're 8 years old, with plural on servants. I hate this dude. I hate him. Sean Strickland, this is your ammunition. I've given you all the opportunity you need. You can absolutely clown this dude at a press conference. And quite frankly, at this point, knowing Sean Strickland, if he doesn't bring up this stuff, then I'm going to think the UFC is silencing him. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I just wanted to really break down that Chadwick Boseman stuff for you guys, because I mention it a lot in some videos and some streams as well, and everyone's always like, what did he do? What? It's so silly to me, man. It's so silly to me. And the worst part is, I know what happens when people go through cancer, okay? I don't have it at all. I'm not saying that, but I know. You know what I'm saying? We all know. A lot of us are going to know. Okay, it's common enough. You ain't competing at the fucking peak level, at championship level in the UFC. Still got all your hair going. No change of look whatsoever. I've never seen Israel looking frail and weird and weak looking like he's going through some treatment. Dude's fighting every 4 months. Like, I hate this shit. And I hate him. And I hope he gets slept by Strickland. But it's not going to happen because he's on PEDs. And I hate him. And I'm not a hater. Some people need to be justifiably hated. Simple as that. And if this was any other fighter, you'd be toasting him for it. If this was McGregor, I can only imagine the reaction from the fan base. I can only imagine. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.